Welcome to NITAX Labs. This is Radio Joe. Hello, and welcome to NITAX Labs. And today we're going to be doing a little talk on field antennas and how to put them together. We got field day right around the corner this year, and probably a good time to learn a little bit about field antennas. So, lots of different ways we can hang antennas up out in the field. Trees, things like that. But today we're going to focus on if you don't have any trees or any supports to hang an antenna and how to set something up that is just completely self-sustaining and can be set up by one person. So let's get started. So today we're going to focus on the military mast sets that you can buy at just about any hamfest anywhere. These things are really nice for setting up a field antenna set. Now, there's a couple of things you won't get in a kit that you might want to look for. Some people sell them, but they're easy enough to make if you have an extra piece of tube. One is this hinge stake. This is what's going to allow us to set this antenna setup up with just one person. Now, again, you probably, field day, you're probably going to have help, but it is really nice to be able to set up a field antenna all by yourself, or at least have the ability to do so, because you never know when you're going to need to set something like this up. Now, these kits come in two different ways. You can get them in fiberglass or you can get them in aluminum. And I ain't gonna tell anybody what to do. I started out with fiberglass, and to me they were garbage. I ended up breaking them. They didn't last, and they're lighter, which is nice, but at the end of the day, I don't recommend them. But again, that's up to you. The aluminum ones, the newer ones are definitely better than the older ones. If you look at the stake, I don't know if you can tell, but this is smooth and this is ribbed. The older setups were smooth like this, and they didn't have these rings on the bottom. Now, the rings are very important. They keep the aluminum from deforming when you plug these together and there's lateral forces on these pipes. So when you're buying these kits, and they're usually around $50 for a bag of 8 poles at any hamfest where they're selling them. Make sure you get the ones that are ribbed, because they're a little bit stronger, and definitely make sure they have the rings welded on the ends, because they do protect the ends and keep them from getting deformed. So what we have here is we have a setup that will stand Carolina windom, which is an off-center fed HF antenna up, and it will do it with a higher center and lower end. So there's an 8-pole center, and they're 3 feet or so apiece, and then there's 4-pole end supports, which will put the antenna up in an inverted V situation. You wouldn't want to do that with like a G5 RV. They like to be flat top, but the windoms, they have a really good pattern even with an inverted V. And the nice thing about a windom being off-center fed, you can usually fit it into a space that isn't symmetrical. So let's take a look at how this all goes together. All right, so here we are. We got our antenna pole all laid out, stuck together. We're getting ready to stand it up. I'm going to show you the key features of what it takes to get this thing erected properly and do it all by ourselves. All right, so here's the pole, and again, this is 8 sections. We have our top 2 sections here where we'll attach our antenna at the top there, and then come down 2 sections, we put our guy ring in. If we come down to the base of the antenna here, or the tower, I should say, pole, whatever you want to call it, we've stuck our hinge stake into the ground, and we've assembled that so that our hinge stake is going to allow us to hinge this thing up. Now, the trick here to getting this done with one person is this black rope right here. This black rope is going to allow us to measure, if we walk it out to where our stakes are. So we take I don't know if it's kind of hard to see against the grass, but I have one of my stakes laid out for my guy rings so that it's in a, basically, think about a 90-degree angle off of the bottom of the pole, and we bring our rope out to where our guy rope would come down. So we're imagining what this guy rope would look like if this thing were standing up. That allows us to determine our radius. Now we can take this black rope and we can walk it out around the base of this tower, you know, and divide this up in thirds so that we can find the point where our guys will stake into the ground. And if you do this for the back two guys against the side that lays down on the ground, what this will allow you to do is it'll allow you to determine where these back two stakes go, stick them in the ground first before we stand it up. Then as we stand the tower up, these get back two will hold it in place while we walk out the final one and stick it into the ground. The other thing is we want to make sure before we stand it up that we attach our antenna at the top. Now, there's many different ways to attach an antenna to this. You could put a ring and just pull an antenna up with a rope. You know, if you have some sort of a dipole antenna, you're going to put it in an inverted V fashion. We're using this Carolina windom that I like to use on field day. I've built up this little box for the end of it here. So this allows for easy installation on this tower. I got a couple U-bolts on a piece of acrylic plexiglass there, and my little ballon box is bolted to that. I have the SO239 connector on the bottom. So basically all this does is it slides over the end of this pole like so. Keep this top one a little bit tighter, maybe not that tight, so that you can slide it over and it'll stop when it hits the wider part. Wow, that's too tight of that swedged area there. So, and then that won't go anywhere. This one's too tight to go past that. You know, kind of lay your antenna wires out the way they're going to be, so when it pulls up, nothing's tangled. Don't forget to attach your coax cable if you have such a setup, you know, or whatever you're going to use to run down to the ground if you're standing it up with the antenna on it. If not, again, have a rope, you know, set up to a ring or a pulley or something so that you can just pull your antennas up to the top of it once the stand is up. All right, so we have our pole all laid out now. The wires have been straightened out, ready to go. All we have to do is stick our back two stakes in the ground and then stand this guy up, stick our final stake in the ground. So here's that procedure. Our rope, we've measured out where our stakes go, and we're ready to stand it up. And that's it. I mean, as I used my radius rope to measure out where my stakes were going to go, this thing stood up really easy, nice and straight, and with one person. And it wasn't really heavy to stand up. These military masts, aluminum, very light, very easy to handle. This is a great system for putting up an antenna. All right, so the end supports are put up in much the same fashion as we put up the center support. I'll use 4 poles. They obviously don't need to be as high on the ends as it is in the center because we are inverting this like an inverted V. The very top pole has a ring. You could put a pulley. I found the ring is just plenty adequate. Plus it doesn't rust up and freeze up over time. I run my rope through that and use it to pull the end section of the antenna up. There's 2 intermediate poles. In the bottom pole, we have a turnbuckle to tie off our rope. Much the same as the top, we use a little guy ring and 3 stakes to hold the pole up. In the end, this makes a really solid setup. I mean, it can handle a lot of wind, pretty much anything weather could throw at it. There's not a lot of wind resistance on any of it, so, you know, with the guying systems and things like that, this thing could probably withstand a tornado. But let's hope that never happens at field day. So anyway, I'll get this put together, and you can see how that all works. Assemble our 3 poles, put our guy ring in between the top pole. Now, one important thing is, one, you want to make sure you're far enough down so you have about 15-20 feet of rope past the end of the antenna, because it's laying on the ground. And, you know, with the antenna laying on the ground, you're going to have to pull it up. You're going to take up some of that. So, before you stand this up, make sure that you put your rope through the loop there, so you'll be able to pull the antenna up. Now, the other thing, these guy ropes are a lot shorter, so I didn't use the measuring system rope in order to figure out how far my stakes have to get. So what I do is I just kind of pace it out, and for me it's about 3 paces, you know, to put in a stake. So you grab your stakes, of course rope always likes to get tangled up, right? Signature method. So grab one stake, we'll kind of pace it out. 1, 3, stick it in the ground. And I'm going off of this base here. These bases kind of look like a, I don't know what it looks like, a big splat sort of. Come with these military mast kits. That they were originally intended to hang up camouflage, so these would actually go at the top in the military setup, but they make a nice little base to keep this pipe from sticking into the ground. So we don't have our what you call it over here, the hinged base on this, because we really don't need that to stand this up. So I'm just pacing from the center of this, 3 paces, sticking my stakes in the ground. And again, just like I did with the centerpiece, I put the back 2 stakes in. You know, now I'm going to stand this up. Again, this is really light and easy to stand up. So, you know, just like that, and then take our 3rd stake and stick it into the ground. That's it. We have our end support now. I was close with my pacing, but you know, you can adjust the base a little bit to get it straight. Nothing to it. You know, we put our rope through the thing, so we'll pull our antenna up, and that's it. Now I have, you know, one side of this dipole up in the air, tie that rope off on that turnbuckle, and we're done. Obviously, we repeat the same step on the other side for the other end of the antenna, and that's it. I mean, we have erected Carolina windoms capable of operating on 160 meters in like 20 minutes. Even with making a video, it was really fast. So we'll take you over to the other end, show you how to lay this thing back down and put it away. All right, so now we have our antenna completely installed on our poles here, and what we're left with the windom anyway, and you could put any kind of antenna up there, a doublet or any sort of dipole, but what we're left with is we're left with this ballon hanging down here that has our SO239 connector on it, and we can now attach our feed line, take it out to our base station operation, however that's set up. So that's it. I mean, this pole, it's about 35 feet tall when it's all put together, and you know, we could have done more. We could have put, say, like a 6 meter vertical on the top of this, or maybe like a HO loop or something like that, like a little copper a copper loop or something, and added 6 meters to the setup. We could even have tied some loops in the guy ropes, maybe 4 or 5 feet away from the pole, and hung some Slim Jims, or any sort of antenna that you could suspend from something off of each of the guy ropes, and really put up every amateur band you can think of on this pole in one swoop there. So because you'll be able to work 10 to 160 on the windom, and or a doublet if you were to put a doublet on there, and throw a 6 meter antenna up top. You'd have 6, and then 2 and 440, and really you'd have a complete complement of field antennas in one setup that you could put up in like an hour. So really a pretty nice thing. I built this about 10 years ago, and I've used it at a lot of field days and things like that. It's always been really easy and easy to take out, put away, and there's lots of different ways to hang antennas up, and this is just one of them that I happen to have to like myself. So hopefully you got something out of this, and we were able to show you how to put this together, and maybe what to look out for if you're at a Hamfest shopping for these parts, and you're able to put something together for your own field kit. So have fun at field day this year. We're hoping for a good one. Man, this COVID been around for so long. At this point now, it's nice to think about getting out and doing some things now. People are getting vaccinated and stuff, so be safe. Obviously, if it's required, practice your social distancing to the best you can, but enjoy field day 2021. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Well, we're glad you could join us for another exciting episode of Radio Joe. Remember, if you liked our videos, hit that subscribe button. We certainly appreciate your support. Have a wonderful day.